time. We have a beautiful guest speaker today, and I'm so excited because I'm going to get to know you. I haven't had the honor or privilege to hear you speak, but you came highly recommended, my friend. And here's what I know: birds of a feather flock together. So when people recommend people that like true heart of Mary Kay, does it the right way, so go give. I mean, I could go on for hours of how everybody highly recommended you. And so I'm excited to get to know you and to hear from you. And here's what I think is most impressive. May and June, or it's mid-June. It's wild, it's crazy. And for anyone to take their time to pour into the Mary Kay world. And what I love about this group, it's every division, it's every level. It doesn't matter. Sometimes they get translated and taken to other countries. And I think that's incredible, right? But what I love is it's just a midweek pick me up, a safe place to be with like-minded people. And I am blessed, and I'm just so grateful that you were willing to do that for us today and to take your time in this crazy time to do that. And so I let everyone kind of share what they find important about their accolades or anything they want to share about them. I don't ever take that away because I think, I don't know, we can always say that best from ourselves, right? And so thank you, my sweet friend, for doing that. Just being a woman that Mary Kay would want in her company. You always want to copy the right cat, right? And so if you're new, know there is a Lunch and Learns Facebook group that you can always join. And or if you're not, don't panic. We put it on YouTube. It's just my name. It's just Jennifer Enlow. You can look at past ones. So if you're not on social media, I know people feel different ways about that. I keep it on YouTube, but then I probably where you learn about it, either in Voxer or Facebook or whatever, is where you'll find the recording. However, you all have to bear with me and give me till Monday. So my office girl comes beginning of the week, not end. And anyway, she kind of does this in her spare time for us. And so she's going to put it over there. So if Breanna gives us anything today, just hang tight, okay? Because we will get it by Monday. I promise you. I promise. So my friend, I'm just going to let you take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I do see some familiar faces on here, so that's super fun. I just saw you, Amanda. I was like, oh, Amanda's on. That's awesome. And I see some of my consultants and directors I work with, so that's super fun. I'm going to dive right in because I have a lot to share with you guys today. So I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about myself, and then I have 10 points to share with you today. So you might want some pen and some paper, but just a little bit about me. So I am a single mom. I actually homeschool my son. I have a golden retriever that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I love to cook. And my son and I are actually getting back recently into doing horseback riding lessons for over the summer. And I absolutely crave freedom and flexibility in my life. I just got back from a 14-day camping trip with my dad of 3 generations to go travel all over into different national parks. And so it's so fun to me that we get to take this business anywhere that we go. And you guys, I want to tell you the reason why. Why do I do what I do? I started this business when I was 22 years old. And I started a year after my mom had passed away. My mom actually committed suicide. And so I tell that to you to show you I was in a place of deep grief. I was not in a place that I thought I wanted to be surrounded by women. And I had no idea the community I would be coming into of ridiculous amounts of support, bringing back my confidence, bringing back my self-esteem. And as you know, when you get on an appointment with women, sometimes they're the last person, right, to be taking care of themselves. And I started to see that pattern, and I saw that pattern in my mom. And this peace was planted in my heart of, wow, this can be the place where I get to give back and make a difference with women. I didn't know that making that decision 13 years ago would completely set me up to recently walk away from an extremely toxic marriage and be able to financially take care of me and my son and to give the choices. And so I believe that we always have a why or something that's happened in our life that makes us tick and do what we do. And so, the constant has been definitely empowering women with that emotional growth because of my background. And it's just kind of, changed a bit over time of also helping a woman maybe now as an adult of what relationship that she might be in and she needs other choices. And so anyways, what that looks like for me is being a cycle changer. I want to help women to have a place to have support, to grow their self-esteem, to grow their confidence, to be financially independent. I want you to be able to change the cycle that your kids grow up, or how they believe, or how they think, because it is not what's taught, it is what's caught. And I want every woman to be able to raise her deserve level in every category of her life, not just her business and her finances, her health, her relationships, all of her spirituality, all of those areas. And I want women in Mary Case talking to you, the consultants, to work this business, not to live your life to work Mary Kay, but to work this business so you can create the lifestyle that you want, the everyday joy in the journey. And you guys, right there, that is exactly how I share my why story at the beginning of an appointment. And we will come back to that in a second of changing. Are you sharing your intention and your heart and setting the tone of vulnerability for an appointment of what you're looking for? Or are you going into your I story of the basics? So a little bit about my Mary Kay business is just so you kind of know my background and what I want to talk about today with you is I started this, like I said, when I was 22 years old. And in my first year, I became a sales director. I was able to replace my income. I was actually a hairdresser prior to this. And so using my body all the time was going to be really difficult. Just to give you a picture, during that first year of becoming a sales director, I was dropping my dad in and off at rehab centers. So I came from a family of a very colorful addiction and a lot of stuff going on. After I became a sales director, I think a year later, I ended up earning 3 cars in a year, because I was completely dead set on bringing my son home in a pink Cadillac. And so I had seen it at an event, and that was just my vision. So what is your vision? What is something that you've seen in the Mary Kay world that you're like, I don't know why that keeps attaching to me and connecting to me, but I really want to make that happen? I then really started to grow my business, and reaching different higher unit clubs. I think the highest at that time was like 450,000. And then in 2017, 2018, things dipped. And I had to walk away for a year. I moved in with my dad out of my house with my husband, and just picked up my 4-year-old at the time after a career conference, and was like, something's got to change in my life. And our personal life will mirror what's going on in our business. So sometimes if we're not happy with our business, we got to stop looking at our business, and we got to look at like what's happening in our life. And going away and taking care of myself planted the year where we did our first 500,000, while I was working out of a very small bedroom in one room, sharing with my son while trying to take care of us. And so I say that also to say it does not have to be some perfect environment for you to create a lot in your life. You just have to decide what you're creating. After that, I decided to go back with my husband and to work on things. COVID happened. We got stuck together. Virtual happened. I absolutely fell in love with it. And we did our highest year ever, which was the prestige 834,000 unit club. And I was just so excited. So throughout the years, we've had offspring, we've had amazing success. Gosh, you guys, that year, my highest check was 34,000 in 1 month. So you can make so much with this business and really create the life of your dreams. And then things started dropping after that. And so my story for you today, my 10 points for you today, or maybe you've been somewhere in your business, maybe you've been somewhere in your life and you are winning and you are loving it, and you've dipped back down. And I want to be a part of the comeback with you. I want to help you with the ways to think or to shift, that if you found yourself in that place, how do you pull yourself back out of it and come back and win? And so recently, this one is specifically of the comeback of the Cadillac story. We just finished earning our 8th free car. And I got to tell you, with how life was looking, and I'll tell you a little bit more picture of what was going on, I did recently just go through a divorce. 2 years ago, I did walk away from that man and did not expect myself to be alone and a single mom homeschooling her son. I went from having a ton of help to no help at all. And if you can imagine, if you've ever been in a circumstance like that in your life, you know that you've probably, after me for finding out that 13 out of our 16 years of marriage was not truthful, there's a lot of shock. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of energy taken from you, and there's not as much as I normally had to give. So even though I stayed consistent in my business, I was a little emotionally disconnected. And you guys, emotions are contagious. And so even though I was showing up, and I'm so proud and thankful for the time that I had put into my business and what it was doing for me when I couldn't, it didn't mean that we didn't dip a little bit, that I had a moment when Cadillac came around that I was like, oh boy, we had to go back into some numbers that maybe we haven't been doing recently. And have you ever been somewhere and then not there and then almost shame yourself for why aren't you there anymore and that I should know how to do this? And you kind of keep yourself in this revolving emotion with that. Well, it doesn't really help any. We just are where we are. So let's jump into those tips, right, of how to get yourself out when maybe that's happening. So let's see here. Number one is we want to acknowledge where you're at. I was avoiding the numbers a little bit. Okay. And I didn't really want to know, or I wasn't checking, or I wasn't logging into In Touch. I just was really, if you ever had like a stack of bills, or like mail, and you're like, I don't want to look at that because I don't really know what's in there, but it's looming in your head anyways. That's kind of what it's like when we decide not to check our numbers with Mary Kay. And so with that, it could look different in many different ways. Are we not knowing how many bookings we have? Are we unaware? Are we disconnected? Or do we not know how many leads that we have? Do we know our average sales or our monthly sales? Or if someone were to ask you right now, how much did you sell this month so far? Would you know? Do you know your recruiting averages? Do you know the statuses that your consultants are in? Maybe you're right now in the beginning of growing your business. And when I say that, it's like, do you have people maybe going into A3 falling off, and that's going to make the difference of your commission check this month, or what position you're going into next month? Or are we kind of like unaware, floating around? For me, it was about knowing our team wholesale or my year wholesale, and what were we tracking for? How many people were in my unit? How many, were active versus T status? And when my business coach would ask me, I would say, I don't know. But when I was going for big numbers, I always knew, because a tracked number grows. Okay. So the bottom line with this is I had really disconnected myself. I was really afraid to look. And we cannot grow if we do not know. We cannot grow if we do not know. Okay. So that is why we just got to acknowledge where we're at. Number two, I showed up for compassion for myself without self-judgment. What does that look like? We can beat ourselves up and we can shame ourselves to go to work every day, but that is not going to really create the life of your dreams or the goals that you really want. You've got to ask yourself, am I going to work to win, or am I going to work to not lose? That is two different ways to operate in your business. And if you are working right now to not lose, that we are stuck in a scarcity mindset, that everything is grounded in it's not enough. Is this going to be okay? Is this going to work? Versus what are we creating today? You want to get yourself out of the have to into the get to, because when we're in obligation, you guys, we're in complete rebellion of our business. We're like doing all the things that we think we should do, but we're like hating it the whole way. And then we wonder why it's not working out. We're creating this belief system of this hamster wheel of like, see, I told you so. See, people, see, she didn't want to sign up anyways. Well, you're like making yourself work when you don't want to. So we want to kind of come out of that all or nothing thinking. And I just had to go, you know what, Bree? You did the best you could during this season of life. You showed up consistently. You never, didn't go to your unit meeting. You still were holding appointments. Maybe it's not the same way that it looked at, but how can I find the things that I did right versus focusing on all the things that I maybe didn't love? Number three, I looked at the past to see what had worked. If we looked at those moments where you were like, I loved that month. I loved that week. I loved that year. That was my best year of where I showed up. Sometimes we stop doing the things that were working because we hear like some Mary Kay idea and we go squirrel and we go off and like we do that. And then we're like, why did I stop doing that? That was really working, right? So examples of what that looked like for me as a sales director were looking at, do I really like love my prizes and my promotions? What were the reasons I even changed them or that I'm choosing these? If I'm not even excited to get them myself, I don't want to talk about these to people. I need to go back into like what I'm loving. Maybe this also looked like for me, my booking. in a time where I was like a raw nerve walking around, I had put in a lot of automation for myself with appointments and things with Scipio and things to automatically respond to me. And that also created disconnection. That may work for you. Okay. I just want to put a disclaimer out there that some of these things that may not work for me may work for you. The point is, what did work for you? What does work for your personality, right? For me, having individualization in my top 10, I realized, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm losing all the connection with my automation and I'm not growing the relationship, and it's not making me show up as powerful to my appointments because I don't feel like I actually know them. All right. So you just got to love your reasons, whatever your reasons may be. Um, at the beginning, I shared you my why story versus my I story. Very recently, this has been something I've been digging into. Am I just going into muscle memory of, oh, I had really bad skin, and this is why I do what I do, and I'm going to help you, with this, and this is what I did before? Is it really just surface, or are you sharing your guts and setting the tone for who you want on your team, and really telling women why and what you're doing and what you want them to be a part of with you? It's funny because I used to do that. When I go back to, okay, what was working when we were having tons of recruits is I was spilling my guts and sharing my mission, and women wanted to come around for the ride. Not when it's just the bare bones basics and like, okay, well, I could make money anywhere. So dig in today. What is your why story versus your I story? Number 4, I took personal responsibility for the goal. Okay, we're going to dig into this one a little bit of what this one means. I was ready to do the appointments and all the personal team building to get that Cadillac, regardless of what my unit was doing or not doing. Okay, whether it's a car or you're a consultant that's going to a place, have you ever gotten into a place where you're like, well, my team's not working or she's not signing up? And we release our control and say what other people are doing or our frustration with them as to why we aren't where we want to be. That is when we're not taking personal responsibility. And I really truly believe that when we get into that place, you guys, when we have expectations of people, it leads to premeditated resentment. And you cannot create from a place with your team or lead people if you are resenting them. You just can't. So that looks like me. Fine, I'll go earn my bumblebee. And I did it early. And that was a part of earning this car. I knew that I was the one who was disconnected emotionally. I knew I wasn't the one who was showing up maybe the way that I always used to with super high energy. So I couldn't fault my team if they were slightly disconnected, but it did give me the opportunity to put myself back on fire and see who else may wanted to join. And if they didn't, that's okay. I'm going to love them where they're at, and I will go find new exciting people. So this wasn't a turn and burn. This was a let's reconnect and also find some new to give everybody else hope. You're not taking responsibility if you are blaming, justifying, or making excuses. Okay, let's dig into each of those. So what would it look like to blame others in our Mary Kay business? So that could be exactly what we were talking about. I could be blaming our team. I could be blaming the company. I could be blaming the circumstances in my life. Okay, versus going, okay, Brie, I have a big goal. So if I want to take personal responsibility for this, it's important for me to have this result. You got to ask yourself that too. Is it important, or do you just think you should do that goal? Because if you're not really connected to it, guess what, girls? You don't have to do it. You got to be in the want to do it, not the have to do it. Okay. So I had to ask myself, what can I control with this? How did my actions or decisions contribute to where I am right now? All right. What do I need to maybe shift with that? Now, number 2, justifying behavior. This could look like explaining why my actions were reasonable. And guess what, you guys? Sometimes you have circumstances that are actually highly reasonable. You might have listened to my story right now and went like, well, I mean, it would have made sense if she didn't earn that Cadillac because she did just go through a divorce and there was actually a lot of reasons. And we would have all just been totally okay with her and said, it's okay, just go after it next time. Right? Like, and we all would have been like, sure, that's okay. But I had to go, you know what? I would have shown up for any other job. I wouldn't have had time off with any other job. So why am I going to not show up for this? Again, I'm going to be cautious of myself and focus on personal self-care because maybe I don't, again, have the same energy capacity. But instead of blaming this situation or justifying, I got to say, you know what, Bree, you're in an interesting season. So what can I learn from this experience that I can help somebody else with someday? Maybe I needed to go back through this so that way I could be in a situation, instead of everything coming with ease in my business, where I could dig back in and help one of my consultants when she finds herself, and have a deep empathy for people. What can I choose to do different if I'm not happy with my results? Number 3, making excuses. That could look like creating reasons that you shouldn't be held accountable. Okay, versus saying, all right, well, I'm not in a good situation. Maybe I need to, there's 2 brackets, I think, when we're not winning. We either need to go after the skill. I'm so obsessed with Tom Cruise right now because I just love the work ethic he has, and the new Mission Impossible movie just came out, and I'm hearing all these interviews about him, and he's like, when I had a big goal, I had to ask myself, what am I willing to go learn and figure out to make this happen? He's made crazy things happen. He does all of his own stunts. Okay. If you know anything about him, to learn how to do that. So when we have a goal, do we go, I just don't know? Or are we going, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to be coachable, and I'm willing to go figure out and get that skill? I mean, 13 years later, you're going to hear me digging into my skincare class again of going, what do I need to shift and learn and tweak and connect? Instead of being like, you know what, I've been doing this for a lot of years. It just is what it is with my skincare class, right? Okay, so what did I need to do? So that's skills. So the skills would be, where's my booking at? Where's my closing look like? You know, what does it look like of my sales? Those are skills. The other side, though, when things aren't working, is, what are my belief systems? How am I thinking? 80% of this is mindset. So I had to ask myself, what do I need? Who do I need to talk to for guidance? How do I maybe need to shift my schedule? What resources and support do I need to go find on my own? And how can I reframe my thoughts? Those would be some things you could do instead of creating excuses. So let me give you an example of this. And again, if there's any directors on here, just to give you some hope, I did multiple extensions of this Cadillac. Prior to that, they were coming in early. I was finishing them in 4 months, okay, sometimes 3.5. And I went and found myself in a place of 3 extensions. So I found myself in a feeling of frustration. And you know what I started to do in the moment before I took personal responsibility? Well, I would have been done with this if the company didn't raise the qualifications. I'm really mad that this happened around this time. And I was having a little pity party about it. Okay. And you might be able to put that into your own words of something, if a qualification has ever changed or a time of your life. And then I went, how could I reframe this? And I worked with my business coach on this. And we went from being frustrated to, what if this Cadillac is so much more sweet and special because it's even more prestigious because of the amount that I need to do? And what about the story that I get to share from stage because we did it in spite of what this one is going to mean to me? And that I am not going to let this man take this from me. I will not. Thinking of letting go my control and doing that versus what was this going to mean for me, put me into a whole different zone of working and how I was showing up and my excitement and my motivation versus being in frustration. And so moving yourself out of that emotion. All right, number 5, I worked on reigniting my belief. My belief had to be unwavering in 3 different areas. I had to have unwavering belief in the products. That's never been an issue for me because I'm absolutely obsessed with the products. But if you aren't using them, if you aren't in love, you don't have to be in love with everything, by the way. Not everything's for your skin type. So you have to be in love with the things you love. Okay. So, but do I believe in these products? Do I believe, second area, in this company and opportunity? Am I fully sold out on this marketing plan? Am I fully sold out on what it can offer to women? Do I unwavering want to share it with people, or do I pull back of who may need it or not need it? And the third area is, do I believe in myself? This is the sticky one. This is the getting into our like, ooh, confidence, deserve level, thoughts. Where is my thoughts? Where is my belief? Because you can believe in Mary Kay all day long. You're like, shut up. It's a 63-year proven company, debt free. Of course I believe in that company. But do I believe I can do it? See, belief in self is really, really important. Okay, so what happened is if I was wavering in one of those areas, I dug in to see where I was maybe having some, I call it mind drama. Okay, mind drama or limiting beliefs. And those limiting beliefs come out in our subconscious. They come out in our appointments. They come out even if we send the perfect text. It doesn't matter because our energy is like all over it. It matters. Okay, so again, going back to, if you even write down, if my emotions are contagious and my thoughts create my emotions, what am I thinking today? Am I having to, okay, let's see, it says, I'm having to go through what is empowering me versus if I'm feeling any sort of anxiety or obligation, that is going to change, how I show up. Okay, so number 6, I love this saying. And if you've never heard it, write it down. I needed to inspect what I expected. I needed to inspect what I expected. This started again, we're double dipping in points. First, personal responsibility. Okay, I can't inspect what my team members are doing if I don't inspect what I am doing first. So I always inspected my results. Went, ooh, okay, I kind of want to shift this. And then I would go change it. And then I would be so excited that I could talk from a place of helping because I had, mastered it versus just going and telling somebody else what to do. Okay, let's go into what that looks like. Everything again started with myself first. So that started with my sales average. You guys, if you are not selling a certain amount, when I say a certain amount, I don't care about your total over monthly. I care about your face average of sales. Okay, company average is 100. That would be the goal. If you're not there yet, then we have room for growth. So if you are frustrated with how much profit you're taking home from your sales, that is directly affecting your recruiting. It is a direct, because if you don't believe that you can make money just selling this product, why in the heck are you going to share this opportunity with people? For people who may not ever add a team member in their life, they have to know how to take their profit and earn their money here. And it starts with you doing it first and not just reinvesting all of your money to get a prize, that you're keeping it and you have something to show for it. I call that a right now passionate goal. What am I creating this income for? And what can I speak from that last skincare class and say, yeah, in an hour, I just sold $500 to 2 people. I just made an extra 250. That helped go towards XYZ. That's the only marketing plan you need. That's what Mary Kay said, selling from your weekly accomplishment sheet. So, and sales directors, if this is something that we do not hone in on, this directly affects your inventory averages. Because if your belief is low in your sales, then you are not going to have unwavering belief. Ooh, I'm freezing for a second. Let me turn my video off and on. You're not going to have unwavering belief in how much product your people need to have on hand. When you are selling the maximum amount that you can, you are going to be on that inventory call like, of course you need this. I just had this much leave my office today. I mean, there's absolutely no reason that you wouldn't need that, right? So, okay, so those are some things that I started to do with my sales, and then I went into it with my team, and we had those little coaching calls. Number 7, enforcing the unintentional sales pitch. This is a training I could do all together. I have to wrap up the pieces because I know we only have so much time of how much time, but here's a quick example of the unintentional sales pitch. Doing the referral game, I was not loving how many referrals I was getting. This can bleed into everything. And I was offering, because when we could get those little hydrating masks, the blue sheets, and we got like the BOGO offer. So like I got like a ton of them because I was like, this would be great to send for like a referral game because they're cheap and you can send them flat. And those were my reasons. Okay, but guess what? They weren't my favorite mask. They may be yours. So like, I don't want to infringe my thoughts on you, but they like weren't mine. I'm like the biocellulose girl. I'm like, I want that luxurious mask. I wasn't super excited about the hydrating mask. So when I wasn't super excited about it, my unintentional sales pitch of how I offered the referral game of what they would get for free was completely messed up and changed how many referrals I was getting. So can you imagine if you don't believe that someone should have the Cadillac collection of your sales sheet, or I call it my ultimate glow, and you don't have the full belief of how this would benefit her, how her skin is going to be, why it's more important that she gets everything together, and you are not sold out on that, you are going to unintentionally sell lower. Maybe it's even your own money drama. You're going to sell lower. And I call that getting in the dirty pool of water with her. She's in the dirty pool. She's got swampy thoughts. She's got her own circumstances. And like I was getting in the pool with them, like, you know what? You're right. You do have this going on. Okay, I'll change everything versus get out of the pool. I'm up here. I can help you get out, clean up my thoughts, and I'm going to believe you're resourceful. I'm going to believe that if your phone broke today, you would get another one immediately and you would figure it out. I'm going to believe that this is the best thing you could do for yourself today versus get into their swampy pool. Okay, I have 3 more. Sorry, I'm going over. Tell me in the chat. I'll try to open it up if I gotta change this or hurry it up. Okay, number 8 is nothing had to do with my systems. Everybody's like, tell me the perfect way with the systems and the scripts. Nothing had to do with my systems. Now, if you know me really well, I have the systems of the yin yang. Okay, I have a lot of systems. I have a lot of organization. That is always meant for when the masses are coming in of how to take care of everybody. It is never what ignites the fire. What ignites the fire is being hyper intentional with your appointments. My new consultant on my communication with my consultants, focusing on the value of what was best for them, their next win, my beliefs before getting on that phone call and talking to them, my schedule, instead of being in hustle mode, offering every appointment available just because I needed to get it done. What really worked for me and my son and showing up and being excited and my energy level when I could be on that appointment. The events I was offering, I found out if I had too many, it was too much communication for me. And it felt overwhelming versus being intentional in the ones I had of coaching people and guests to come and following up with them afterwards. If you are not maxing out what you already have, do not add more. Work full circle with what you have. Number 9, very careful with who I surrounded myself with. You are like the 5 closest people that you hang around. There was no room for extra negativity in my life. I literally could not even handle it with what I was going through at that time. And not in like a toxic positivity way, like I can only think positive thoughts. No, I have to protect my brain right now. And I'm already trying to work for my own thoughts. So I cannot rescue your thoughts if they are not empowering me at this moment. I also realize you have the average income of the 5 closest people hanging around you. That's a new thought. So who am I spending my time with that I want to elevate my income to? And I was very careful to get a business coach. I invested in that, you guys, for the last year. Game changer. So who do you need in your corner, whether that is therapy, whether that is your director that you need to be communicating with more, whether that's your national that you need to be having coaching calls with, or a business coach, somebody who is keeping you accountable and who is helping you to work through some of this, because you can't always self-coach yourself. And number 10, in closing, your thoughts are very powerful. And when you come to an understanding that your thoughts directly create your results, your whole business is going to change. When you realize that changing your thoughts can happen like this, it doesn't need to take a lot of time. It doesn't even have to grow momentum. You could change them and shift them today. If you see things go backwards, it's because your sticky thoughts came back, not because it doesn't work. And you got to be willing to maybe journal, process it out, brain dump your thoughts so you can be clear. Because when it's all stuck up in here, we're just so used to thinking that way. And finally, you got to realize that your business is willing to pay you all the time. I want you to think of your business as a money faucet. And just because you have maybe had a dip, you had to take some time off, you may have been disconnected like I was, it does not mean that you cannot come back and that you cannot turn that business faucet right back on and have it flowing with money again.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Oh, I love that. I love everything you said. And I don't know, some of you probably felt the same way I felt, like maybe in different areas it was speaking directly to you. But we're so grateful for your comeback and everything that you've done. And it's hard. It's hard to keep your head straight during all that. It absolutely is. And if nothing else, sometimes that's your win, right? To fight forward. And that's the beautiful thing about Mary Kay, right? We never really lose anything. Like she said, it was 3 extensions. You can keep going. You're always going to be further than if you did nothing. I mean, who wants to stay there? It's miserable. Misery loves company. Don't stay there. Thank you. That was incredible. I cannot wait to get this recording out. If anybody has a question, we have a couple of minutes. We can unmute real quick, or anything you may want to affirm from the training today. I'm going to give you a second to unmute. You'll have to unmute because I muted everybody.
I'll jump in really quick just because I know Breanna personally and I love you, friend. I have been inspired by you from the moment when she was running for director, or I'm sorry, for Cadillac, to have her baby come home in Cadillac. I was running for directorship. So every time you ran for something, it inspired me. And I watched you go through the dips and the mountains. And I've always been inspired by how you bounce back up. Your bounce back ability, kid, is crazy. And I just adore you. I think people need to know you if they don't, just because of just your heart. I'm so grateful that you were on today. And of course, I wasn't going to miss it for the world. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to call you friend. And I just wish I wasn't clear across the country and I could literally drop in your backyard. But I do adore you. And I thank you so much for sharing these tips, for speaking real and the real point of personal accountability. We've really got to stop blaming everything else and just take our responsibility for what we can control. So thanks for controlling what you can control and letting go of the rest and being a great example of that.
Thank you.
I love that. Anybody else? Make sure I don't miss anyone.
New wrinkle in my brain, the unintentional sales pitch. That speaks volumes because we never realize. And I love the what your belief sneaks into your business with that. Never, that would explain how one may, $100 average face, and all of a sudden, why I'm only at the $50 spot? What am I unintentionally doing for the person, right? Not, I love that. I love that, where we get to uplift that person in what we're being intentional about. So thank you for that.
Welcome. And Jennifer, I do have that whole training I recorded for my unit, the unintentional sales pitch. So I know you're saying if you guys want that is the whole training I have that it's on YouTube, I can send you.
Yeah, if you're okay with that, I put it in that group. I would love that. Because I think, they can listen to this and then go right to that too if they want to. So yes, if you're willing to do that, I would appreciate that. And thank you all so much for joining these and making these so successful and sharing them with all your friends and power partners. And I cannot believe how astronomically huge these lunch and learns have gotten when I started, I don't know, 3 years ago, just for a little something for my unit, and just all of you making the commitment to be here. I deeply appreciate that. And I love that we're continuing these. And thank you again, Breanna, for just your heart, your audacity to pick yourself back up, but ultimately just your willingness to share your story and to be in the real, to be authentic, and to be raw with that. Because sometimes that's a huge thing too, that sometimes we don't want to let people know some things. And so thank you for being willing to do that, because I know there's plenty that need to hear that in your success story, and not just business, but in life. And so we wish you the best. I love you all so much. And let's run these final 5 weeks to our diamonds, our cars, or whatever it is you're doing, our so many faces, our new customers. We're all cheering you on, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.